What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 33 of the Brahma Bullpen. Another winning episode. Let's go, baby. Brahmas 2-0, leading the XFL conference. This week, we're going to have two videos again. This is going to be our video. We're going to do a little bit of power rankings, and we're going to show you the Brahma Bullpen Player of the Week. No more fooling around. Let's get into it. So standings after week 2. Pop the graphic up there, producer. Brahmas lead the conference uh, and beat Memphis. The crazy thing about this game is it ended just like one of the games did for us last year when we played St. Louis in the Dome. We kept the ball in the fourth quarter, 4th and 12, and you know wound up getting the touchdown. We scored a couple touchdowns with 28 seconds left, goal in the game. We'll have some of the highlights later. So it's kind of like it was our turn to win in some crazy fashion, keeping the ball after a score. Every single game in the UFL this week was close. Just a couple quick hitters on those because this is the Brahma bullpen, and we're here to talk about the Brahmas, not everybody else. But St. Louis won; they went 1-1. I will tell you, they do look extremely beatable. The Renegades are 0-2, but Luis Perez has been the most accurate quarterback in the league. Uh, they're definitely not an 0-2 team. I mean, they are 0-2, but they're better than an 0-2 team. They just had a couple of weeks of stiff competition going up against St. Louis and Birmingham. So I expect to see Arlington start winning some games here real quick. Um, the other Texas team down there in Houston, lost their quarterback over this past game, and then they brought in Sennett, the former Brahmas quarterback, and the offense looked like it ran a lot better. The defense looks to be extremely tough. Um, so watch for them to start winning some games in the USFL side. Um, I just think that every team is so good and everything's so close. The difference between 2-0 and 0-2 is mixed with a little bit of luck, a little referee help, and then a little bit of dog. I'm gonna say a little bit of dog. That's what the Brahmas got in them. These guys fight till the end. Birmingham Stallions, they seem to be the most dominant team, but San Antonio seems to be right there with them. So let's jump into the Brahma Bullpen power rankings. Uh, Throw that graphic up there, producer. I do want to say that these are not the United Football Media Group power rankings. If you follow the United Football Media Group, you'll see their power rankings come out every week. I get to vote on that as part of the United Football Media Group out here in the cow pasture. These are my power rankings. These are what I voted for. So you can see I got Brahmas number 1 and Birmingham Stallions number 2. I truly feel those two teams could be flipped, 1 or 2, either way. I think you can't go wrong there. And we won't know till week 9 who's better. But right now they're both 2-0, and this is the Brahma bullpen. So maybe a little bit of homer, put them up at number 1. St. Louis, I got them at number 3. They lost a very close game to the Panthers week 1. Got that 64-yard field goal, got them. And then they came back and did what they did this past weekend. So I think St. Louis is probably the best 1-1 team. Then we got the DC Defenders, who the Brahmas played week 1, and DC beat Houston up in DC. A crazy stat, right? They've never lost a game inside Audi Field, so those guys definitely got a home field advantage up there with the Beer Snakes and the Lemon Heads. I put them up at number 4, 1-1, right there with St. Louis. And then the Memphis Showboats, also 1-1. Uh, Memphis's defense is good. They talk a lot about Case Cookis, but his completion percentage for the season is 56.3%. Not really all that great. Definitely need to see some improvement there. I got them ranked at number 5. Michigan has the worst completion percentage in the whole league at 55%. So that kind of puts you. If you think Perry is doing a bad job up in Michigan, understand your boy Cookie Cookis is only 1.3% higher than them. Arlington's off to a great start, uh, but they've given up the most points in the league, 54 points so far in 2 games. That's the most anybody's given up this year. I will say that Luis Perez is the most accurate quarterback in the league right now. So, hey, man, if they can just get a couple stops and keep converting on offense, Who knows, right? But that's where we stand right now. And then Houston down all the way at the bottom. Unfortunately, they're the worst looking of all the teams. But Reed Senate came in, and they're looking better than what they were. So with that, we're going to jump into the stats page, week 2 stats. This is the review of the Memphis and San Antonio game. Go ahead and pop that stat up there, producer. So real quick, week 2, the Brahmas won, obviously. We got 3 total touchdowns. Memphis only scored 1 touchdown. So that's the first touchdown the Brahmas defense have given up all year. 1 touchdown in 2 games. Our points, we beat them by 1 point, 20-19. We'll show the highlights here in a little bit. One thing that's pretty crazy, Chase Garbers, for as bad as the first 3 quarters were in this game, ended the game with a 73% completion percentage. And Case Cookis ended the game with a 55% completion percentage. What else do you need to know? Passing yards for the Brahmas, 287 to 194. The rushing yards, going to be a little misleading, but, we really did not run the ball very well. You can see we had 37 yards. We averaged 3.3 yards per attempt. And then you look at the Memphis Showboats yards, 130 yards, but that equates to 3.6 yards per attempt. So they just ran the ball a lot more than we did, but they weren't any more efficient, right? 3.3 yards per rush versus 3.6 yards per rush. Third down conversions, not good. 3 out of 11 for the Brahmas, 4 out of 12 for Memphis. Wasn't good for either team. Brahmas went 1 for 8 in third down conversions last week. I said year. What a retard. Anyway, so last week, 1 for 8. This week, 3 for 11. But a crazy stat is the red zone stats. If you look at the Brahmas red zone stats, they are 3 for 3, and the Showboats went 1 for 6. So they got into the red zone 6 times and only scored once. That's a red zone defense. That's exactly what the Brahmas did last week. They let DC move it between the 20s, but when it got inside the red zone, shut them down. Pretty much the same thing with the Showboats. So that red zone defense, when that field gets smaller, the Brahmas have found a way to work that to their advantage. And then here's a crazy stat, and we're going to show some videos for some of these penalties later. But Brahmas, 14 penalties, okay, for 142 yards versus 7 penalties for 62 yards. And it was even more skewed than that. Some of those penalties that they were throwing on the Showboats towards the end of the game were pretty much like, we better make sure these numbers look closer penalties, just to keep people from complaining. But we gave the Showboats 8 first downs. 8 first downs on penalties. 2 on one drive that eventually led to a score that I know off the top of my head. But you can't give up 8 first downs just on penalties. We got some receiving stats I just want to go over. At the end of this episode, we'll talk about Player of the Week. It was real close for the Brahma Bullpen, Brahma Player of the Week, between Cody Latimer and Durante Kirkland. Latimer had 8 receptions, 91 yards and a touchdown. Kirkland had 7 receptions, 53 yards and a touchdown. Stevenson had 6 receptions for 103 yards and a touchdown. So, those guys are all doing the work. Got a 3-headed monster there out there catching the ball for Chase Garbers. I really wanted to give player of the game to one of these guys, but we had to go with the quarterback. We'll show the stats later on him. Showboats receiving, their leading receiver had 58 yards, 194 total, and they just had the 1 touchdown. So Case Cookis is not cooking. He hasn't started cooking yet this season, and he needs to go ahead and step up. But there's a quick rundown of the stats from the game that were critical to the Brahmas' victory, a 20-19 victory, very close ball game. We're going to get into some of the highlights. First thing we're going to do is look at some of these penalty highlights, and then we'll end showing the last bit of the fourth quarter, which is pretty much all you need to see to know what happened in the ball game, right? So with that being said, let's go ahead and play that first video. Let me get my magical computer device in my hand up here, and we are going to roll it.
He's sneaky athletic. The dude he's got a good feel of the game, and if you cover down, he's going to take off.
22 seconds remain, a timeout to work with for the Showboats. Already in front by 10. Cookis avoids the pressure, has a man, in zone and incomplete. Jonathan Adams was open, a penalty marker flies. Darius Phillips in coverage.
4:15 here, 4:15.
Defensive pass number 2. Okay, we're getting all 15 yards. Sorry, I can't hear you. Did you say number 2?
Number 2.
Got it. We're getting all 15 yards. Got it.
Pass interference. Defense, number 2. 15-yard penalty and an automatic. First down.
So, Kirk, that's the third PI infraction against San Antonio in the half.
Yeah, first of all, how do you get beat deep in this situation? You should already stay on top, but the double move and a nice throw by Cookus, I don't know if that was pass interference. I just thought that was great coverage by Phillips. He got there, and the ball bounces what? Off the Adams on the face mask. I don't know if that's a penalty. I thought that was just a great defensive play by Phillips.
You know, it's pretty bad when a defender plays perfect defense and he's rewarded with a nonsense penalty. And it was a max 15-yard penalty. You know, in the NFL, that would have been it to the 1 or 2 yard line because it was in the end zone. But good thing here in the UFL, the rules are 15 yards is the max. But regardless, that was not a penalty. And there was a couple of other PI calls that were very questionable. Speaking of questionable, let's watch this next penalty.
So there's a rover. So the rover is the spy. So I guess Will Reed's listening. He's got the spy. So find the rover who's going to spy. And there goes the spy on the quarterback.
Third down and 4. Cookus releases a pass, incomplete. And San Antonio finds a way. Adams thought he could grab it, and there is a penalty marker.
It was high and late. I didn't see a second act, but
No, I didn't need a second act. I did high and
okay.
late.
What number you got?
Roughing the passer, defense number 9. High
Okay,
and late.
Mayday. We got roughing the passer, defense number 9, high and late.
Was Wyatt Ray. Can you imagine another first down on third down as we take a look at the U.S. Army Command Center with Mike Pereira?
Watching, breaks through here, ball out, hits him right about the second step and high. One last look. Okay, we're going to stay with it. It is a high hit. Looks like he might hit some of the helmet, so we're going to stay with the roughing the passer.
All right, on number 9, got it.
See this one here?
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense, number 9. 15-yard penalty and an automatic. First down.
6 times today, Memphis has gotten a first down via a penalty, and this is something you just can't do.
Did you catch that? We're going to stay with it because he might have made contact to the helmet. And if you watch that replay, the arm barely grazes, if that, might have made contact. I understand that when you're going to review plays like a coach's challenge, it has to be beyond a shadow of a doubt, right? It has to be irrefutable evidence that it happened. But this wasn't a coach's challenge. This was an official's challenge. They reviewed this play on their own. It wasn't Wade Phillips throwing a flag. And they said that might have been high. Absolutely ridiculous. That was one of the plays that gave them a first down. And they wound up scoring on that drive. You know, not to cry over spilt milk, so to speak, but every game you could pretty much complain about refs on either side. All you want is for the plays to be equivalent, for the flags to be equivalent. That way the refs are not controlling the game. There was a play later on in the game where Durante Kirkland caught the ball and literally got speared helmet to helmet in the middle of the field. Everybody could clearly see it, but no flag was called. What's the difference? I don't know. How can you miss that and not miss one? People are imperfect, but man, there's games on the line. And we're very fortunate that our offense stayed in the game and really, really wanted to win more than Memphis. Let's watch the last of the game. The Brahmas wound up scoring 12 points, 2 touchdowns in like 28 or 30 seconds. Let's watch it.
Marty. The touchdown gives them 6.
Correct. But I love this conversation now.
From the 10, and here we go. Garber's end zone. Incomplete. Abrams broke it up.
But this ball needs to get to the 40-yard line for this game to extend.
4th and 12, empty backfield for Garbers.
Ready, go!
And he's gone all afternoon to survey and throw at the line, and let's see.
He's got it.
Right at the 40 was Kirkland. Drive continues. Garber, Stevenson into plus territory, barreled down to the 45. On 2nd and 10, Garbers. Stevenson wide open, still on his feet. Stevenson ushered out inside the 20.
Oh, that's a huge play. To run toward the sideline and then get out of bounds. Garber's cool in the pocket, gets it to Stevenson, and then the ability to make guys miss in the middle of the field.
March and 2 scores. San Antonio on the comeback trail. The out pattern is there to Justin Smith.
Not enough time.
Brahmas out of timeouts. Gonna have a challenge. Garber's end zone, and it's caught. Cody Latimer. San Antonio's in front. Unbelievable.
And Cody Latimer, the guy who I said he's your guy in the 4th quarter. Chase Garbers extends the play, and he finds enough time.
What is up? Did you hear the names that were mentioned? Kirkland, Stevenson, Latimer, even Justin Smith getting in on there, getting some of the action, making big grabs at critical times. I'd like to point out a couple of things. One, the 4th and 12, after we scored the first touchdown to Kirkland in the corner, a lot of people were like, hey, he was down short. These balls have microchips in them. There's a thing called forward progress. There's no human error here. The microchip of that football, when Kirkland first caught it, was at the first down marker, and he got forward progress, just like everybody else in every other football league gets forward progress. I realized by the time he hit the ground, he was a little bit short. We all saw that. But forward progress, digital tracking. Then I'd like to point out, did you see Chase Garbers making those throws on point, on the move? Those wide receivers were moving across the field, got hit in stride with the ball, and were able to continue to the sideline and get out of bounds. That's on Memphis Showboats. I have no idea why they're not sealing the edges and why they're not. They should have never let our wideouts get out of bounds and stop the clock. Hey, our wideouts maybe are faster, or maybe the motion that we went to pre-snap caused the defense to get out of place. Either way, they had plenty of opportunities to stop us and just couldn't do it. So I don't want to hear anybody saying that the Brahmas didn't earn this victory, because we basically got our butt kicked for 3 quarters before that. And then, of course, you see Chase Garbers on the move, outside the pocket, showing his mobility. Remember, we call him a threat and a half here in the bullpen. He's not a pocket passer. He's not a true runner, dual threat. You'd call him. He's a threat and a half. So he's got the wheels needed to make that pocket work for him and get out on the edge and make those throws. And then, of course, the best tight end in the league, Cody Latimer, making that touchdown grab to keep the Brahmas 2-0, 20-19 victory. Absolutely wild finish. If you didn't get to watch the game, go back and watch the 4th quarter. All 20 points the Brahmas scored were in the 4th quarter. At halftime, the Brahmas only had like 14 yards of total offense. I think net yards was like 8. The first half was horrendous. Couldn't get anything going. Couldn't run the ball. Couldn't throw the ball. Their defense did what they needed to do to shut us down. Plus, we were getting so many penalties on defense that all they had to do was go out there and pretend to throw the ball, and we were getting a PI or a roughing the passer call or something. I think I saw my first holding call of the year in this game. So just a wild penalty-ridden first half. And I'm not blaming it on the refs. Some of those penalties were our fault. But the roughing the passer for the first down and the PI in the end zone was pretty ridiculous. Of course, we already saw those videos. With that, we're going to jump on to our final graphic of the day of the episode. Final score, Brahmas 20, Showboats 19. We chose Chase Garbers as our Brahmas player of the game. He leads the league now through 2 games in overall completion percentage. This is both games combined. These are total stats for Garbers. 73.8% completion percentage, which is wild, especially if you think about the first 3 quarters we had against the Showboats. 5 touchdowns, just unbelievable. These stats and these percentages are coming off PFF.com, so it's all PFF scores. There was one thing on there called an adjusted completion percentage, basically meaning that the pass was thrown and it was on target, went where it was supposed to go, right? He's also the highest in the league in that metric at 87.9%. 87.9% of his passes are on target. He's only completing 73.8% of those. The rest of those are being dropped. It's not like he missed a throw. So 87.9% of his passes are on the mark. Wild game. Go back and watch it. Keep your eyes open for our next bullpen episode, where we preview the St. Louis Battlehawks coming into the Dome. Brahmas are 2-0, baby. Let's go. Let's end it with a horn forward. Let's go, Brahmas.